Shelabobby Handmade. My name is Caitlin, known just about everywhere on the internet as Shelabobby, and this is my podcast where I talk about my knitting, crochet, fiber acquisitions, sometimes cross-stitch, not today, but sometimes cross-stitch and other fiber crafty things that I get to, whatever. It's been a while. I don't actually, let's see. I have it written down what the date was of my last episode, November 23rd. So that was prior to Thanksgiving in the US. So I think I had the week off following this recording, and then today's December 14th. So it's been a while, I think 3 weeks since I recorded. Last week was just unable to record. We had band events, parades, Christmas things, holiday, wintry events, and it was just difficult to find some time to sit down and dedicate some time to show you guys some things. So I decided to push it to this weekend, which may have not been the best idea because I am also very busy this weekend, but that's what happens in December. A lot of family events, holiday shopping, weekends are very, very limited to, things that you need to get done while you can't do that while you're working. So it's been a little bit, and we have a lot to go over. So without much further delay, we'll get started. But I did want to let you know that if you haven't noticed already, I am actually recording Charlie's Advent. I know that you guys enjoy that from Vlogmas. And since I'm not doing Vlogmas this year, I am recording Charlie each day when I give her her when I give her her Advent, or Blueberry, placement Blueberry. And so if you haven't seen that is on my YouTube Shorts. I am also uploading it to TikTok. Either way, those are accessible. TikTok may have different music because for some reason I use Epidemic Sounds for my music and sound effects and stuff like that. So for some reason TikTok is blocking those, and there's no way for me to or that I can find out. I'm very, very new to TikTok in uploading. So there's no way for me to counterclaim, and I have it set up in Epidemic Sounds correctly. But anyway, I just replaced the music over there. There's no talking, so it's not a big deal. But anyway, that being said, if you want to see Charlie's Advents, check out the shorts on my channel and you can go through and watch. I have not recorded her today, so she's up to the 13th is posted. I usually post it late at night here in the US, and so that way there's no spoilers or less chance of a spoiler for those on the west coast of the US for Ruby and Roses, because I do post a picture of my Advent. I have Ruby and Roses Advent, and I have a swap that I am doing. And then I do have Chromatic Yarns. I have her weekly Advent. So I have not shared photos of those because I don't know when other people are opening them. I will show you the first two today, but I'll put warnings before I do that. So if you want to see what I'm getting and what Charlie is getting, hopefully today she's feeling a little bit more into it, because yesterday she was 0%, did not care one bit. Also, last admin thing, I promise, it is a little bit gonna be funky colors, maybe funky lighting today. It is absolutely gray and miserable and raining outside at the moment, and I can't wait any longer to record. So if I'm doing it, I gotta do it now. So if you see, it get darker, if the lighting is a little funky, colors are a little off, that would be the reason. But what can we do but just move forward? Okay, finished objects. I have an exciting one. It's back here. So I have finished my anthology throw. So we kind of expected that this one would be done today, or at least in this episode, because I was getting so very close. So if you don't know what the Anthology Throw by Helen Stewart is, it is a very large circular throw that is written specifically for Advents or using scraps up of 20 gram weight. And inside of the pattern, she actually tells you where you can change your yarns to make sure that you are using 24 colors. She also gives you options to expand those. You do not have to change it on those specific rows. And I did not. I used every scrap of yarn from this Advent. The last color of the bind off, which I think I called this a I-cord bind off mistakenly. And while it isn't, it also is at the same time. It's just a 2-stitch one. But this last color, I did 1 row and then I did the bind off, and there was, I think, like 9 grams left of the mini, and I placed it in my granny stripe blanket that's on my bed. I think you can just barely see. Nope, you can't see it. That I keep on my bed. I finished that at the beginning of this year with quotation marks, and I've just been adding in, when I finish up a sock, adding in just to make it a little bit longer. I haven't shown you guys that because it's considered complete, but I do add in some yarn to that. So I did use up the last little bit of that last mini in that blanket, so every bit of this yarn for this Advent is complete. I used the Ruby and Roses 2024 Advent, and again, used up every bit of it. Started in the middle with the first color. I don't think that I mixed up any of the colors. There was a chance that I did with one of these final colors, but we ain't stressed about it. And if you are curious, this section right here is where the pattern would have ended. So this purpley color right here. That is when the pattern would have ended, and I just continued until I used up all of my minis. So it is slightly bigger, about an inch and a half, than what the pattern would regularly call for. I'm excited. I washed this. Almost had a terrifying experience with washing it, but I am ready to use this now that I've shown it to you. I do need to get some like actual finished object pictures, but it just hasn't been the time. But I'm going to use this as a blanket on my legs because it is chilly. But I went to go wash this, and I was texting Tanya and Crystal, my friends Tanya and Crystal, who started their blanket around the same time. So as I was finishing it, I was letting them know I was finishing it. It inspired them to work a little bit more on theirs. But I put it to block and wash, and that was mostly to even out the edges here. And it's just been a blanket in progress for a year, so get all the, dust and stuff off of it. But I put in 4 color catchers because, I mean, these are pretty rich colors. I expected it to bleed some. And then there's also some really, really light colors in there. So I didn't want to run a big chance of it bleeding. So I plopped it in the water, had the 4 color catchers in there, and I stepped away from the wash bucket to go clear off the drying rack that I was going to place it on. Less than 5 minutes it took me to do that. I came back and the water was dark. I'm going to put a picture here because I sent it to Tanya and Crystal in an absolute panic because the water was bright purple, purpley pink. I just knew that all of these light colors were going to be just dyed. They were going to be another color. Would that be the end of the world? No, not at all. I would not have, fretted that much, but as long as it was even, I wouldn't have cared a whole lot. But I ripped it out of the water. I dumped the water really, really quickly, took it into the laundry room and spun the water out in the washing machine. And then I laid the blanket over. I did not look at it. I did not want to know. And I left it there for 2 days. It was dry after the first day, I believe, but I just wanted to make sure that it was fully dry before I, folded it, got it ready to show you guys. So I left it in there, and 2 days later, I decided to investigate, see if there was any damage, but I see no bleeding. Not even, I mean, there's some really, really dark colors next to some light colors, and there's no bleeding. So yay. Yay, there's no bleeding, no worries there. And so now it can be used. It is perfect to fold in half and put on my lap. So that is most likely what it will be used for on my bed while I'm knitting and crocheting. Just use it as a little lap blanket. It could also be used shawl-like, which I think is used in the project photos. So, you know, used halfway as a shawl, and then eventually my vision for this would be if I had like a spare bed or something like that, put it over the spare bed out on the bottom, or if I had a sofa and have it on the back of it. But it will be used as a cozy little blanket for now. So some details about it. As I said, this is the Anthology Throw by Helen Stewart. Ruby and Roses Advent for 2024. I have her 2025 one, and the colors are completely different. If you are curious about that, at the podcast that'll be at the end of the year, I will show you all of the colors for that Advent. I just don't want to spoil it, and right now I'm keeping it in the box. So I'll show you all of those colors in order on a spare cord, so you'll see all of those. I started this January 17th of this year, and I finished it November 26th. So I was able to finish it in that week that I had off, and cast on so many things for Christmas, which you will see. I can't remember what the called for needle is for this project, but I used a US 6. That's a 4mm needle, and yeah, used up all the yarn. So that was taken out of my totals. I think that is it for this specific project. So happy to have a blanket done, and maybe we'll get another one done this year. We'll have to see. All right, next is a pair of socks. So I think you saw these in the previous episode, but I don't think I had very much of them done. So these are the Wendigo socks. It is so dark outside, sorry. These are the Wendigo socks. These are DK weight socks. So I have my own recipe now, but if you want something that would be the most similar, I would use the Crazy Sock Ladies free DK weight socks pattern. These are using the Cryptids, Myths, and Legends club from Fangirl Fibers, and this is the colorway Wendigo. I am making these socks for my grandma, so these will be for Christmas. So now that they have been shown, I put dots on the bottom of her socks so that they are slip resistant, and so I will put those on there. And I actually have a bag of socks that I've been making throughout the year with this club. And so I will take those out and get the dots put on them so that I can get them wrapped up, because we are getting close to Christmas. So this yarn worked up pretty fun, where the second sock actually is darker than the first sock, which happens sometimes with hand-dyed yarns, and it does not bother me one bit. I know that can be bothersome to some, but these are ready to be wrapped up. As I said, super excited for that. Dates. I cast these on November 7th and finished them December 6th. They did take me a little while, but these were also ones that I was working on intermittently, so didn't really focus on them too much. I did the 56 stitch count for her, or a 56, not the 56. I did a 56 stitch count for her, and I used US 3's 2.25 millimeters, and that's it for this one. One other finished object that I have is some dishcloths. If you have been with me for a while, you know that I have been working on some dishcloths, crochet dishcloths for Christmas. I have a bucket that sits right behind the camera that I'm going to take to my Christmas events and just tell people to grab what dishcloths they want. That way they can pick their colors. And I wanted to work up one of the skeins that I had because I did order some more. I didn't pull that over here for acquisitions. I'll get it, don't worry. So I did 3 crocheted dishcloths, washcloths. This is the Dishy, so Knit Picks Dishy in the colorway Friendship Bracelet, I think. Yes, Friendship Bracelet Multi. And so I worked up the entire skein of this. I have like a scrappy one that I'm working up that I'll finish out whatever is left of it. But these are going to go in that pile and be ready for Christmas. I might try and work up another one before Christmas, but since this is a transition into whips as well, obviously, our Christmas is, we do Christmas on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th this year. So we will, I won't have another podcast before then. So a lot of these whips are for Christmas that you're going to see. So if there's anything that I complete for Christmas gifts and then I am gifting them before I will see you guys again, I will record a quick video and include that while I'm talking about it in the next podcast. So don't worry, you'll see everything. So if I make some more dishcloths, I will include that, but it may or may not happen. Just depends. I'm kind of prioritizing things because I just counted and there's 9 days. And in that 9 days, I am also working 4 of them. So work days don't get a whole lot done. And then, of course, you know, it's the holidays. You got to get stuff done. I have chicken chores to do today, and we're going shopping with my nephews and my niece. So lots of stuff to get done. I'm going to set those over there so I remember to put them in the bucket. Works in progress. All right. All of these bags over here. I have a pile of them. So I am going to do my best to remember which bag is which. These are ones that you have seen before. These are socks. I am making the Under the Hill socks by Roro and Cades. This is for her bi-monthly, I guess is the best way to say it. Every 2 months she has a knit along that is open to the public. It's not just to her Discord. We mostly talk about it in the Discord, but it's done on Instagram. But she picks one of her patterns and then we make that pattern in the next 2 months, and then she'll pick another one, and that's going to continue into the next year. I have participated in every single one of them except for the first one, I believe. And that was just because timing didn't work out for me. And she was doing it at 1 month at a time at the very beginning. And so I didn't think I could cast on and finish the sock in that month. But now that it's 2 months, I've been able to keep up fairly well. Except this year. I mean, this 2 months. Because this ends on the 30th of December. And I haven't finished the first sock. So this one may be a failure. But we'll see. We're not going to give up hope, but this is not a priority. Obviously, my Christmas gifts are. So you have seen this one in the last episode, and I think I just had a repeat or two. So I have completed the leg, I believe. It's been a little bit since I've worked on these, but I think I've finished the leg. These are for my sister, so I always do a little bit of a longer leg for her. So I think I'm ready to do the heel flap. Based on where I am and looking at this, I have cut off the yarn. So I am ready for the heel flap, and I am on the back of the sock. So yes. Am I on the back of the sock? Yes, I'm on the back of the sock. So I am ready to start the heel flap. I am using Polka Dot Creek sock set, and this is mint chocolate chip, and then there's 2 minis with this that I'm using. I believe I am using the lighter color. Yes, I'm using the lighter color for the cuffs and toes, and then the darker color I'm going to use for the heel flap. And then this is the main color in the skein. So working through those, again, It is not a priority. These were going to be for my sister anyway. And they were going to be a Christmas gift, but I wrapped up her socks today. So if they don't get done, not the end of the world. They'll just get added to the bag for later. So those, oops, I forgot my tag. Those will be worked on, and I will try to get them done by the finishing of the knit along for them. But if I don't, I am not going to stress about it. I don't do it for the prizes or anything like that. I really just enjoy making them with Kelly's community. So I just have fun making them, and it kind of assigns me a sock as well to work on. So I am knitting size 2. Again, that's for my sister, and I am making these on US 1 2.25 millimeter needles. That's it for that one. I don't think that these were on the needles when I talked to you last. They were something that I cast on in that week off that I had. So these are socks for my nephew Josiah. I'm going to show you the yarn first. Oops, that is attached. So I'm using Ruby and Roses. This is the colorway Cottage Core, and this is the Plump Rose. So the 8515, which is the 2-ply. Is it 2-ply? 2-ply? Yes, the 2-ply base that she has, which is a beautiful deep burgundy red color. And my nephew said that he liked this color. Let me steal one of these sock blockers, because I have, that's the sock, I need the blocker. I have completed one. I finished this last night. So one sock is complete. And I'm just doing vanilla socks. I've made him another pair of socks. He requested these. So these are for Christmas. So I need to get them done. But he requested a pair of socks, he requested gloves, and he requested a scarf. So you'll see all of those as whips. And then last night before I headed off to bed, I cast on the next sock. So these will most likely be my focus to go ahead and get those done so that they're off the list and ready to go. But information on these, I'm doing 64 stitches. US 1 2.25 millimeter, my vanilla sock recipe for him, and I have been informed that he is now a size 10, so the length of the sock has grown a little bit from the last sock that I made for him. But all is going well with that. Vanilla sock, it goes pretty quickly when I'm able to focus on it and get it done, but I've been splitting focus between a couple of things, so that's understandable. They're not getting done super duper fast. I didn't really mention the bag that one was in, the previous sock was in. That's a bag that my friend Sarah made for me, like a Japanese style knot bag. And this is my OL Amsterdam bag. It's a canvas, pretty thick canvas bag, but that one will be a pretty main focus, I think. The next ones do not have very much. This is in a bag that I got from Saf. I don't think that there is a brand on this bag. They don't have a name tag on there. So I won't be able to tell you who it is by. The yarn for this one is Hinkston. Really won't be able to see that very well. Hinkston Handmade. And this is Christmas at the Cabin, and I did her matchy socks, so it came with 2 50-gram skeins that I wound up. So there are the skeins there, and obviously I'm working on this one. And I picked a mini from my mini collection to use as at least the cuffs, but probably the cuffs and toes at least, but cuffs for sure. Don't really like stripey in cuffs. Not necessarily because of the pattern, like the patterning that happens, the whatnot of how the ribbing would work, but either way, doesn't really matter. I just like to use a contrasting color. And I'm also planning on using the leftovers of this for something as a gift. Most likely not for Christmas at this point, but as a gift, I want to use the leftovers. So I wanted to make sure I had enough. So this is where I am at. And I don't remember if you have seen these at all, or if this is one that I cast on. I didn't write down my cast on notes. So I have my cuff, and then I have done 2 stripes. I'm currently working in the next color. And these are for myself, so these are not important to get done for Christmas. I'm calling them my Christmas socks because they're for me to be Christmas socks. But they're not a high priority. This is something I can definitely work on later. I am using different needles. These are the Brick House Fiber Arts needles. They're hexagon circular knitting needles. These are US made needles that I found while at SAF. And I got the US one 2.25 millimeter 32 inch to give it a try. And I'll give a full review on them when I have worked a little bit more on the sock and see how, just see how they work. I am making socks for myself just in case the gauge changes, because I know that typically I'm using ChiaoGoo needles in and out throughout all of my projects. I very rarely use any other type of needle. So I don't know if gauge would change depending on, because these are hexagon needles rather than full circle needles. And, the cord's different. I just didn't know how that would work. So I'm making socks for myself. They are extremely sharp. These are the sharpest needles that I have ever used. So I am finding that a little bit difficult. Just a pre-review. I am finding that a little bit difficult. I'm finding my stitches are actually splitting quite a bit with these. Again, that may just because I am not used to the shape of these needles, because they do, where I rub my needle to pick up my stitches is down here. I don't pick up my stitches up here. I pick them up down here. So when I'm doing that, it's hitting those ridges and giving a little bit of resistance. And then these are twisty cords, and I don't mind the join that much. Like, I'm not having any trouble with the join. It does have a join there where it's not as smooth as the ChiaoGoo ones, but not in any bad way. But this cord is very floppy. And so the way that I do my magic loop, I am having some trouble where the cord isn't rigid enough to allow me to just push the needle through. So I am having to work a little bit more to push that cord through, but we'll see. I have only done this much of a sock on these needles, so the jury is still out on them. I'm not enjoying them. I'm not having problems with them. So I'll give you a full review on those when I finish that pair of socks. But yes, those are for me, so that means I am doing 64 stitches. And they're just vanilla. So nothing too fancy with, nope, not 64. I'm doing 68 stitches. I do 68 stitches for my foot. All right, that is all the socks that I have on the needles. So let's go into my self-drafted category. I keep forgetting to put my fans back in there. Alrighty. This is my sister's cardigan that I started in the last episode. You saw the beginnings of it. This is a cardigan that I am making based off of a store-bought cardigan that she made. I'm calling it a cardigan. It doesn't really have long sleeves. They're kind of, it's more like a shruggy, but it's a cardigan. It is a cardigan. Anyway, so I am using some Malabrigo Rios in the colorway Va. And so this is technically a worsted weight yarn, but I am knitting it more on a DK base. So it's a very, very dark green blue. If you look at the one that I have almost finished, you can tell this one has a little bit more blue in it. So as the nature of Malabrigo, I will be alternating when I get a little bit closer to that skein. I will be alternating the colors. I have a large selection that section right there, that's that dark color, that is all Malabrigo Rios in that colorway. So I have plenty to interchange out. And I have not done a lot on this. I was hoping to have this done for her for Christmas, but it is looking like it will be after Christmas, which is okay. I'm not going to stress about it. So it doesn't look like much at the moment. It is the back panel, and where that snowman is where you guys saw it last. So I didn't get but maybe just over an inch done on it. But this is the back panel, and when I finish the back panel, I have done a provisional cast on, and I will pick up stitches for the front panel and we'll knit it down to the bottom, because I'm going to seam up the side to the underarm because there is no knitting for the sleeves. I don't think I'm going to like the finish of the edge on the sleeve here. This is where I'm intending to, stitch those together, but I might pick up and do a I-cord, because that is what I'm going to do on the bottom, is an I-cord bind off and an I-cord, an applied I-cord, I think. No, not an applied one. One that you knit while you are working on it. I'm going to do that all around the neckband. So I have plans for this, and it's simple, but it is a little monotonous because it's just knitting with some detail on the edge. So it's the easiest one to pick up when I am working on a game with my niece or anything like that, but sometimes I want a little extra. And I'm really worried about all these projects I need to make for my nephew, because those are his gifts. I don't have very many other things for him. So those are kind of my focus and why this has been set aside. But again, if I can work on it, I will, but there's no way I'm going to get this done and everything else done in 9 days. So this will most likely be after Christmas. She knows she's getting it, but I have plenty of other gifts for her that I don't have to worry too much. This is in a Fat Squirrel bag. You will see Fat Squirrel bags here a lot. So that one is self-drafted, not a whole lot of work, as you can see, but we're not stressed about it. Let's see. The next one is my nephew asked for a scarf. And you'll see in acquisitions here in a minute because I need to grab it. He asked for a scarf. I expected him to want these dark red purpley colors that he asked for the other two things. So I knew I didn't have enough yarn to make a scarf for him in what I had in my stash. If it was going to be one color. Could I make stripey? Yeah, but I went to our local Hobby Lobby and I purchased some yarn to make him a scarf with. And he came over that afternoon after school, and I was like, hey, about that scarf. He's this type of scarf, just clarifying exactly what he wanted so I could start on it. And he informed me he wanted a white one, which is completely out of the blue, completely outside of his norm. And I was like, no problem, but let me show you what I have. And so I picked up the yarn, and I'll show you in a bit. But I picked up the yarn, and I was like, do you like this? And he was like, yeah, it's fine. I was just imagining a nice white yarn scarf. And I was like, okay. So change of plans, no big deal. I have that giant cone of undyed yarn. I asked him if that was an okay color. He said that's perfect. So I wound off 300 grams of that into 2 cakes. These cakes are ugly, so please forgive them. I don't know what was going on, but I had 2 150-gram cakes made up, and I'm holding it double. And this is what I have so far. So this is kind of a self-drafted. I mean, it's pretty simple. You could probably find many a pattern on how to do this. But I did a Judy's Magic cast on and then knit it using Magic Loop until I could get my circulars on there. And now I am knitting them on circulars. This is using US 7s, 4.5 millimeter, and then I don't know what the cord length is, but a typical hat length circular. But I'm just holding it double. it's going to be a pretty long scarf. So I have, I think the last time I measured this, it was about 10 inches. That's what I would guesstimate here. So I'm about 10 inches, but I need to go at least 5 feet. So we have a while to go. But I try to do at least an inch on this every day. I would love to do more, but there are other projects that, like the socks, that I can get done and get those off the list. So this one's definitely a maybe for Christmas, but we're trying. We're trying. It is a little bit wobbly, and I believe that is because my needles are a little bit bigger, so it's more of an open gauge. Also, I very often only grab one of the strands of yarn while I'm knitting, and so I will drop down and pick it back up and fix it. So sometimes that makes the fabric a little bit wonky, but it will most definitely block out. So he's got a double layered scarf, pretty good width. I think I tried to make it a little bit big. He's a very tall boy, so I think he can wear it well. He wanted these for marching band and you know, being on the bus and things like that. He wants to be cozy, and so the boy asked for something handmade, and I'm gonna make it. So that is where I'm on that one. This is Cottontail Farm bag, and it's going well. Hopefully this one will be done by Christmas. It will need some focus, but we're getting there. We're getting there. All right. Who is in this bag? Oh, these are the gloves. Yes. So he also asked for gloves, and originally it was going to be fingerless gloves, and then his needs changed a little bit, and he wanted fingered gloves. I have never made a pair of fingered gloves before, and so we are going with it. This pattern is the Jervis, is how it is spelled. It's going to be on the screen here. Fingered gloves by Alexandria Brink. On the screen. So I am making him those. So far, so good. It is going well. I did almost scream with the provisional cast on, but we are doing okay. I do not see a tag on this bag as well, but I got this from Saf, a chicken bag. The yarn that I'm using for this one is Ruby and Roses, soft rose base in the colorway. We like strong women here. Colorway doesn't really match my nephew, but the colors do. So I am not using the mini. So this was a sock set and it had this mini, but I am not going to use it. I have it in this bag because I am keeping track of yarn in versus yarn out. So it is in here so that afterwards I can weigh it and then know how much I actually used. And then this is the color. And he really liked this. He said he wanted, you know, purpley, like a dark purpley color. And so I had this one on my purchase thing. I sent him a picture and I was like, does this have too much pink? And he said, no, actually it's perfect. So that is what I am using. These use 2 needle sizes, so I have a lot going on in here. This is a US 0, which is so tiny that I can't see the number. 2.0 millimeter. That is what you use for some of the ribbing. And then I know you use it for the first little bit anyway. You use it for some of the ribbing. This is a double cuff, so you do a provisional cast on and you knit the first layer of the ribbing in the US 0, and then you switch to 1.5s, I believe, and you then knit the other side of it. You knit those together using that provisional cast on. That was actually very handy of knitting 2 things together. And then I am currently working on the palm section, which is going fairly quickly because it's mostly stockinette. It does have twisted rib detail on the thumb, which is in between these sections right here. So it is, you know, a little bit of detail in there. And I think I have about 8 more rounds to do before I put the thumb stitches on hold and then there's a little bit more knitting, and then you split for the different fingers. I will definitely have to have him try these on as I am knitting them, because I have never made fingered gloves before. And so I know that they need to obviously fit his fingers. So we will work on that. This will be the next focus after the socks. I know I can whip out those socks pretty quickly. Or if I have some time where I can, sit and focus. As the stitches get smaller and smaller, it's going to be fine. And I don't mind too much a DPN, working in smaller circumference. So I don't think I'll have a problem with fingered gloves, at least the reports that people have about the process of fingered gloves. But we'll see. I never made one before. So, forgot my band again. So that will be the next focus and the other gift for my nephew. So really need to work on those 3 things and get them completed. A quick update on my diagonal blanket. This is going to be pushed to after Christmas, so I'm not working on this very much. I have put a little bit of work, so I did want to show you. This is the Diagonal Baby Blanket by Snufflebean Yarn. It is a blanket for my friend, and I'm using 5 different fingering weight skeins and striping them throughout. And I did a bit of work. So where the Buzz Lightyear is where you saw it last. So almost 2 inches, if not 2 inches. I finished off the color stripe that I was on and started the next one. So this is just a diagonal corner to corner blanket garter stitch, and I am on the decreases. So it is getting quicker and quicker as we go along. But yes, it is going well. So just a quick update on that one. I'm going to move the marker because it'll be a little while before I work on this one. But it will become the next blanket to be finished after Christmas. So we are on the finish line for this one as well. Really wanted to get it done before Christmas so I could get it shipped out to him, but it'll get there. That one is taking a little bit longer than I expected, but again, I had all these other cast-ons, so it needed to wait. This is in a Fat Squirrel bag. I don't remember if I said that. And I will go over the yarns in that I have in the past, but I'll go over the yarns in that more specific in the next podcast. That was just a quick update because I didn't update you the last time. I don't think so. All right. I need a sip of my cherry Pepsi. Last whip. This is a new cast on as well. This is my Advent project. So typically with my Advent, I don't cast on anything crazy, or I don't know, maybe a blanket is crazy, but I don't cast on like a jumper or something that has to have a lot of thought or process inside of it using an Advent. Like I wouldn't cast this one on for an Advent because I know I cannot knit a full 20 grams every day, plus also work on my other projects. So I usually do something that I can do every day in bite-sized chunks. Usually that's a granny stripe blanket and has been for many of the years past that I have been doing this. But I finished all of my granny stripe blankets, so I'm starting a new blanket. It is in this bag by the Fat Squirrel. Yes, by the Fat Squirrel. And it will soon move out of this bag because it's getting pretty large. It's filling up a lot of the bag. Every day I'm opening a swap from, I think it's Cottywamples and Coffee. If I'm saying that incorrectly, if you happen to be watching this, I am so sorry. But anyway, she is on Instagram. I do see that she has a YouTube channel, but she hasn't been uploading recently either. But anyway, she's in Alaska. We did a swap through Roro and Cade's community, and we have done 20 gram minis. So each day I am adding to this blanket. The pattern that I am using is the Jelly Roll Blanket crocheted version by KF Jones. So this was released in October, and when I was looking at different blankets that I could possibly start to do this, crochet is my preferred. As I said, I know I can't knit up 20 grams worth of yarn and then also work on my other projects. If I was only doing that, that would be fine, but crochet is quicker. And so I started the jelly roll. I've always wanted to make a jelly roll. I want a knitted jelly roll. That's very, very scrappy, and that will still happen possibly in the new year, but I'm doing a crocheted version for this swap, and then we'll use scraps after that to finish off the blanket. So here's where I am at. This blue one is where I need to start my new strip. I've completed 3 strips entirely, so the yarn that I opened today will go here. I'll show you that here in just a second, but I have completed 3 strips. So I started on this green one, and then I made the strip 60 inches long to be a good throw size, and then I just stopped when this yarn ran out, and then I manually stopped the second row so that I would not line up in the same spot. So I was just kind of estimating about a halfway for that first strip, and then I used up the remainder. So when I got to this strip, this yarn ended because this one here was a little bit of a thicker yarn, and so I didn't have as much length. So it was a little bit of a shorter strip. So I used the red from the previous row, or purple color from the previous row, to just finish it off. So now I'll start a row that will need that section stopped halfway. So I'll try and line it up with that purpley color for that one. And then I am, of course, putting those leftovers, I'm holding it double as it calls for in the pattern. But I am holding those leftovers in this bag so that I can use them for those little scrappy times if needed. I'm using a different hook than is called for in that pattern. I'm using a clover hook, which says a 7, and that is a 4.5 millimeter. I don't know what was called for in the pattern. I just did a couple of tests with that first strip and found a gauge that I really liked, and went with it. And it's working fine. I'm also making a couple of adjustments to my blanket, but I don't know if it matters too much. Where I am starting, the starting row, this is linen stitch. It's the same thing I've been using for my dishcloth. So I took what I learned from my dishcloths and I'm applying it to this blanket. So I'm doing a different cast on number. I'm doing my first row with not a foundation, but I am chaining a different number, and I am single crocheting the entire first row just to give it a little bit more of a sturdy edge. And then I am doing an odd number rather than an even number so that I have single crochets on each end without any gaps, because I did not like the way that the gaps looked in my particular gauge, the way that I'm doing it. So I am making some changes to mine. My strips are thinner than hers, although she says a certain width in her pattern, but which is what I have, but in her like tutorial videos and things like that, her strips are obviously bigger. So I don't know why. I don't know what's going on there, but it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's a scrappy blanket, and the method is all I needed to know from that pattern. So that is the joining method mostly. So this is the front of the blanket, and it is a join as you go. So there's no seaming. You are connecting it as you make each row. And then the back looks like this. So the front of the blanket has like these little bars that go over it as you join. And then the back just has these tiny little bumps as you join them. So I am really enjoying this. And as I said, I have completed the third stripe, ready to add in the next one. And I have opened my advent for today. So spoiler. So this will be the next one that goes in. I'm really enjoying the colors that are in this, this swap that I did. They are warmer tones, I guess, than I would typically pick for myself. There are, you know, some cooler tones in there, but there's a lot of these warmer tones that I'm just enjoying. I'm enjoying it. So this is Dancing Skies Fiber Arts in the sock yarn base in Unipotamus. So what I do is I weigh this ball of yarn, usually around 20, and then I wind it off, split it, and then just hold the two together as I'm crocheting them. So that is going well. Also, I forgot to say another modification. When I am turning, I think she has you do 2 slip, and I am only doing 1 slip when I am turning. And that is because of the modification that I did with the differences in my chains and the repeat. So that's a modification I had to do. It does make it a little bit difficult on the pickup when you're joining in, but it's not that difficult. Just has to have a little bit more focus. So I'm going to leave that out of the bag because it will be worked on here soon. I am doing that I try to do it every day, but it is not a requirement to do it every day. I am caught up. You know, I'm not behind any, but there was a day or two where I wasn't able to do it and I just caught it up, you know, worked on it as I could. That was a lot. All right. So I just have a few acquisitions. I say a few, there's quite a lot, to go through. And, so I will quickly run you through what I have picked up over the last 3 weeks and how we will go forward with that. So I have received my November colorways for Yarnaceous Fibers, which is the Taylor Swift collection, Taylor Swift Reads collection, which uses a lyric or song from Taylor Swift and a book that is named similarly. And she makes yarn and a progress keeper each month. I will not be continuing anything with Yarnaceous Fibers in the next year. As far as I know, she hasn't announced her clubs, I don't think. But I will be continuing with one in Vanguard Fibers, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. So this is Yarnaceous Fibers. This colorway is This Is Me Trying. And I have been trying to make my sister a pair of socks out of this yarn. I'm behind. I'm way behind. That's one of the reasons why I want to cut back on my clubs for next year. I only had 2 this year, but I'm going to cut back on them so I can catch up on those and use some of my stash yarn as well. So that is the colorway. Very, very pretty. And then this is the Stitch Marker Progress Keeper. It's like a gazebo maybe, or a bird cage with a little bird and some vines. So I usually clip that on the skein after I log it, and then I add it to my cube here, and I'll use it as the progress keeper while I'm making that sock. I have also gotten the November colorway from Fangirl Fibers. That's the Cryptids, Myths, and Legends Club. And this one is Mermaid. And I've been getting these and making mostly socks for my grandma. I have made a pair for myself and for my sister out of some of them. But this one will most likely be for my grandma because these are bluey purples and she likes those as well. Next year, I have applied to switch because she automatically has clubs that will switch to the next year in a similar theme. And it was going to be Haunted National Parks, I think, for the next one. But I wanted to switch it up a little bit. One, I wanted to get fingering weight if I was going to do a club. So I switched it to her fingering weight. She's also offering variegated or tonal. And I believe I asked for variegated. We'll see. And I am actually switching to the Lord of the Rings quotes and characters. So that one will be what I get next year. And I think that'll probably be the only club that I receive. But yes. So I think I have one more for December. And then this club will finish up and I'll be switched over to the other one in January. Let me grab those other acquisitions real quick that I got from Hobby Lobby and Knit Picks. All right, from Hobby Lobby, the yarn that I was going to get my nephew for that scarf, I got 4 skeins of this is the worst skein to show you, the Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek DK Low Pill Fiber. This is the colorway Oxblood 07. And this is a yarn that I have used before to make a shawl for my mom. And it is a very, very soft yarn. It's acrylic. I think it's, yes, 100% acrylic. This is a 114 gram ball, 478 yards, 437 meters. They say that this is a 3. I would definitely say this is a fingering weight. That is what I used it as when I made my mom's shawl. But I got 4 balls of it, and I assumed that would be enough to make the scarf. But since he is not using it, I have asked my niece if she likes this color, and I intend to make her a sweater, cardigan, pullover. Unsure exactly which one yet, but I'm going to knit her something with this. So it will not go to waste, but I do have to add it into my stash to count as in. I don't think, sorry for the rustling, I don't think I'm going to do very well in my in versus out this year. And a lot of that is because I did buy like some bulk things that I want to use in the coming year. I have that giant cone that was worth 10 skeins of yarn, stuff like that. But we're not stressing about it. But I will give you guys, obviously, the update at the end of the year of what I used in total versus what I purchased. So, in this box is my Knit Picks order. They had their sale for, I think it was 40% off in the shop. And I wanted to pick up some more cotton to make some dishcloths for next year. I went through a lot of my cotton stash making these dishcloths this year, and I know I'm going to want to make some next year as well. So I wanted to replace a lot of those and get colors that I hadn't used before. So I'm just going to go quickly through these. They're all Knit Picks Dishy. This one is Pebble Multi. I just got one of each color. This is Turf, and I know they got quite a few new colors, and I think I got some of those. This is Flower Girl Multi. This one is Sea Turtle Multi. This one is Jade. This one is Berry Basket Multi. This one is Verdigris, I think is how you would say that. We have Dandelion Patch Multi. We have, ooh, this one feels different. This one is Pomegranate. This one feels a lot tougher, more like a Lily Sugar and Cream than I'm used to for Dishy, but that might just be the dye. That happens sometimes. This one is Dewdrop. This one is Clementine. Almost done. This one is Herb Garden Multi. And the last one is Summer Jams Multi. So I just got all of those cottons to work on dishcloths for the next year. I also have been making like plastic bag holders and other things. There's been some market bags that I want to try that would, you know, could use a couple of colors at one time. So that's my plan for these in the next, oopsies, dropped one, rolled under the bed. Oh well. That is my plan for those and why I purchased those. But all those need to be added in, and it is possible that I will use some by the end of the year to start on the collection for the next year, but that will all be in versus out, so no big deal. The last acquisition that I have is my Advent from Chromatic Yarns. I have the first two. So if you have the Chromatic Yarns Apothecary weekly Advent, and you have not opened up to week 1 and week 2, you may not want to watch the end of this video, and I totally understand, and I will see you next time. But I am going to show the 2 colors week 1 and week 2. I will show the other ones in the next podcast. So if you are leaving, this is your last warning so you don't get spoiled for the sock set. Okay. So I'm opening mine up on Wednesday. That is just my choice. I know a lot of people are opening them up on Sundays because that is typically where Advent Sundays and weekly Advents would happen. I'm doing mine on Wednesdays because that will bring me up to Christmas, and it's worked out pretty well because I've needed a little pick-me-up on Wednesdays so far. So this is week 1, and it came with a little witch hat progress keeper clipped to it. And this is on the Merino sock set 8515. Widdershins, I think is how you would say that. So that is week 1. And then week 2 is the Apothecary's Lament, all on the same base. Just some beautiful sock sets. Love it. The inspiration, she showed the 4 weeks of inspiration for these colors, and I had to get it because it's glorious. They're my colors. They're very much my colors. So anyway, those are all the acquisitions. Those are all the projects. Those are all the whips. So we will end here after an hour and 2 minutes so far. I know I have a couple of things to clip out, so it won't be exactly that. But anyway, I'm going to have quite a bit of editing to do running through this. So I thank you so much for hanging out with me. Hopefully the next podcast will be in 2 weeks. That'll be that in between time between Christmas and New Year's, and I have off, so I should have enough time to hop on and chat with you about the projects. Hopefully I got them done for Christmas, update you on those, update you on anything I work on in between, and yeah, so I won't see you other than inside of my Charlie's Advents if you want to follow her journey on those. But I hope you guys have a lovely holiday season. If you celebrate Christmas, have a Merry Christmas. Otherwise, have a lovely time, and I will see you guys next time.